hosted by Andy Moss. Andy has been in the staffing industry for over 25 years, first as a recruiter, then eventually an account manager and business owner. This is the podcast where we sit down with fellow staffing owners to get the real stories of the successes, the failures, and the lessons learned along the way.
Welcome back to Staffing Stories. I'm your host, Andy Moss, and I'm excited today because we get to talk to a leader in the locum staffing and the whole medical side of recruiting. And I don't engage a lot with individuals like this, so this is going to be a blast for me to be able to ask questions, and hopefully you guys will get some insights of this type of business. So I'd like to welcome Natasha Lee, the CEO and founder of Floyd Lee Locums. So I make that sound like I'm a big announcer or something, but I'm so happy to have you on.
Thank you, Andy. It's my pleasure. Delighted to be here.
Okay. So introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah. So I have been a healthcare staffing leader for 20 years and staffing for 25, and really just found my career niche in healthcare. I've led multiple organizations through growth and scale. How I met Matt Floyd was I was chief operating officer at Trinity Healthcare Staffing, which was a travel nursing firm. And we grew that company from 20 to 90 million in about 4.5 years. So wow. Explosive growth, big time in nursing. And through at some point he decided to sell the company. And through that transaction, we decided to do something together. And that's when Floyd Lee was born. We really thought that the physician segment was underserved. And with physician burnout being an all-time high and has been the physician shortage, we just saw the opportunity for us to come in and really recreate that physician experience. So that's what became Floyd Lee.
So is it both doctors, nurses, anybody that touches a healthcare?
So the word locums is very specific to the physician segment. It's very specific to the fact that they are traveling doctors, if you will, just like people know travel nurses. This is all about physician and advanced practices. So this is all about providing relief in critical scenarios like hospitals that are in rural settings is really where the dominant locums needs are.
Awesome. Well, I have several friends that are in nursing, and they love, they call it travel nursing because they get to see places they never get to see, and their work environment seems like the younger generation, they love the change of the work environment. It's not the same hospital, not the same location.
Well, and that's the thing. And so for us, locums really has become a work style of choice over the years. I think about 15 years ago, hospital clients were not excited about locums. They weren't excited about bringing outsiders in. They wanted control of their schedule, control of the people they brought in. And over the years, and doctors really didn't see it as a mainstream stable work style either. They just thought, okay, that's what you do if you can't get a real job. And over the last 15 years, it's changed dramatically. And it's been so cool to see through my career that now facilities realize, whoa, this is a way for me to really get my patients' needs met, more quickly, bringing in critical resources at critical times, having that flexibility from a staffing pattern. Like they really see the value now of bringing in those critical resources. And the doctors, the coolest part for them, when you think about the physician shortage and you think about physician burnout, they get to have more control over their career now. They get to decide where and when they practice, who they practice with, for how long they go there. And that's been some of the really cool stories that we've seen is that physicians have reinvigorated themselves through working locums because they now actually can have a balance and have a life. And so when you think about managing the critical physician shortage, especially in rural America, it is a really win-win solution where it's impacting patients positively, but really giving these physicians a chance to really have ownership and agency over their career again, which is really kind of exciting to see.
It's exciting to me when you have a passionate individual like yourself that, was into healthcare, got into staffing and recruiting. It's changed over the years. I mean, I've been in 25 years. I can imagine what it was when we had pagers back in the day to now, we're Instagramming, we're, texting, doing all that. Where do you see your industry going from here? I mean, where do you see it in that 10 years? I mean, all doctors and nurses are going to be almost as travel. I mean, what's your opinion?
I don't know if it would be all. I think there's always going to be folks that really enjoy being in a hospital, especially some of the hospitals where they're more prominent or have more robust programs of different specialties. I think you'll always have a solid American healthcare system when you think about our facilities. But I think the idea that we would have the advent of more telehealth, obviously Amazon just announced their telehealth initiative. We're going to see more telehealth be more robust just because it is a way to get those routine things seen, more quickly. And I just think you'll see that this locums work style will continue to be attractive for facilities and doctors alike, because again, it solves a lot of problems. You're bringing in critical resources at critical times, and then these physicians have a chance to actually have a life. I've got a surgeon right now in Oklahoma, and he's the cutest thing because he's been practicing for over 20 years and finally decided to dive into locums. And he will tell you, he feels like he has rebirthed his career. He's doing more complex cases because of the population he's serving right now. He has a chance to have vacation. He took his mom on a cruise just recently out of Charleston, of all places. And he can actually kind of balance having, he's got a kid that just left the house and is out on his own. Like, he can now balance having a family and a life, but also do work that's really critical to him, that work that matters. And so it really is a win-win. So I think you're going to see it just continue to evolve to be impactful at a large scale. And that's the best news, because the facilities win, the patients win, and the doctors win. And that's what we really need, especially when you think about post-pandemic, what all of our healthcare workers and healthcare system went through was incredibly, incredibly challenging. Not only our world, obviously, but the healthcare community really stepped up. And so I think they're looking for and needing some respite and some balance back in their lives, and they deserve it based on the work that they do.
Do you think that pandemic pushed your industry forward 5 years, 10 years, 20? I mean,
absolutely. I think it pushed the industry forward. We were fortunate and unfortunate. We were a smaller firm, so we had the ability to really be adaptive and to follow that moving target that became with the healthcare day to day, seeing it unfold. The unfortunate part of it was we were still a very young firm, so it really stressed our resources. But we had a resolve to stay wholly intact through the pandemic, and we were able to. And we were creative. There was one facility that fell into our lap that was right in the hot spot in New Jersey, and they were at a critical time, and they literally were already at a staffing deficit pre-pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, their respiratory department was absolutely crippled. And they called us, and we somehow connected. And they're like, we need 25 acute level respiratory therapists on the ground in 2 weeks. And we're like, okay. And it was April 2020. Our entire company showed up. I was doing leads on Indeed. We had everybody, all hands on deck, doing anything and everything to deliver on that order. And we did it. We put people on the ground on record time. It was 2.5 weeks. We had all kinds of logistical challenges, from travel to hotels and just what was still open. But our entire company showed up. And I'll tell you, Andy, Barbara Dims, the director there, she said, my 30 years of being a director, I've never seen a team more competent, more capable, more compassionate. You saved our hospital. And it was so cool. One of the therapists that got there, he's like 2 days in, he's like, this place is nuts. But I saved 3 lives my first day, so thank you for sending me. So being able to be a part of those kinds of just life-changing moments is really, really what being in locums is all about, because you never know the crisis that you're going to face. Like, it truly is something new every day, and that's what we get really excited about, showing up.
It's why we do what we do. I mean, I love being in this industry where you change people's life with a job. Yeah. And obviously we're with our coworkers more than we're with our spouses, and so the jobs are very important. And when you're in something like your industry, it is incredibly satisfying to see success. I mean, I wouldn't want a doctor that's upset. Let's put it that way.
Right. And these doctors literally, so we had another really cool project that we got wrapped into. One of our partners tapped us on the shoulder and said, we need to set up temporary hospitals on these bases. This was when the Afghanistan refugee crisis happened. And it was all unfolding on the news day by day. We were seeing it unfold, with the rest of the world. And all of a sudden we got asked, could we help? And we said, yes. At first it was 20 doctors, then it was 20 more. We literally put over 150 doctors on the ground in about 6 to 8 weeks. And they were living on base in tent hospitals, living in tent barracks, working 14, 17-hour days, serving thousands of people a day. We had the first baby born on American soil that one of our doctors delivered. He wasn't even a baby doctor, but the baby was coming one way or the other.
Yeah, and you can't stop that.
Yeah, and so these were, again, just really unusual circumstances, but our doctors were so humbled and so grateful to show up and be, even in those kind of really basic living conditions, they figured it out. And it was one of the most like incredible things to see kind of unfold over the 9-10 months that we were doing it. And it finally then obviously subsided. And we had a chance to serve these new Americans, serve our country, and help our doctors do work that they'll remember for the rest of their career. So yes, to your point, when you can change people's lives in positive ways, it is super, super gratifying. And the other thing you said we spend more time with people at work. And that's part of what's really driven our culture, the fact that we believe in this purposeful work that we're doing. But we have a chance to show up every day for each other and try to make healthcare better. And so it's that strong purpose for us that really has delivered us through a pandemic, delivered us through some really unusual, challenging projects. But we really just kind of cleave to the fact that every day we have a chance to show up for each other, do work that matters, and really put our best foot forward. And we have a whole company full of people that believes that. And that really fuels us every day.
So your culture, is it work from home or is it work in office?
We have a corporate office here in Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm based, and we have about 15 people that sit here. The remainder of our people are remote, and we really embrace that remote work style because we want not only the work-life balance, but we want to be able to hire people based on the skill set that we need. And so it's really helped us attract great talent with embracing that.
You know, my office with my agency, we've embraced the in-office approach. We've never really gone remote, just because I think culture and training happens when you're around each other, and it's hard to establish culture when you're apart. And I'm sure maybe your remote people have they feel connected, but they could be more connected if you're sat next to each other.
Look, I grew up in a bullpen, and throwing stuff at each other, candy be going through the air, high fives, shout outs. Like, I love a bullpen. But I also realized that, the world of work was changing. And for us, we wanted to be able to, again, attract that talent, especially since we have such a high referral base. People love to refer friends and family, prior colleagues. So we just embrace it. And we do a lot around our intentional meeting cadence. So every day we have a stand up with each team. We have a monthly all call where our entire company's on. Every department reports out. We have regular moments where we have games and other kinds of community building activities. So we spend a lot of time really intentionally staying connected. But you're right, it's significantly harder to keep community and build community when you're remotely dispersed. But we felt like for us, it was what we had to do to really get the best of the best from a talent perspective. And so we've embraced it, and we actively work really hard to keep the lines of communication open and really foster that sense of belonging and well-being, because that's what you have to do.
Do you, let's pivot a little bit about recruiting. Are you hiring entry-level individuals and training them how to recruit, or are you hiring individuals that have recruiting experience and you take the new off of it, but you just give them another skill set?
Yeah, we've done both. So early in, we brought a lot of veterans to the table. And again, there's benefits with that because you get that immediate skill set, but you also have to then retrain and kind of realign. Then we started hiring some folks that were greener, and those just take longer to develop. You've got just a longer runway for them to be impactful. So we kind of done a combination of both. We did also have a unique program that we connected with. UNCW Wilmington has a Cameron School of Business, and through that program, there's actually a sales element they teach in the curriculum. So we've actually partnered with them and we've hired 5 students now straight out of their program from people that are graduating, and they come into the company ready to hit the phones. They want to sell, they know how to sell, and they're ready to dive in. So that's been kind of cool for us to see the results of that. And out of the gate, they're killing it because they're just they're really, really hungry and want to prove themselves and want an opportunity in our industry. So that's been kind of good. So kind of combination thereof, I guess, is the best way to answer that.
Well, it's finding individuals that have that sales aptitude, and everybody sells different. Some people sell aggressively, like what I call hunters and account managers. Yeah. And I really try to find, okay, do you want to be that hunter, or customers love you and you want to deal with the customer aspect? And so I trying to identify those skills early on quickly in our line of work, because I think the generation that's coming up is they know what they want to do, and if they don't see it, they're going somewhere where they think they can. I mean, our generation, me and you, we would probably work through it for a year or two before we make that decision. Now it's like, if I don't see it within the next 3-6 months, I'm gone.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. I can see absolutely differences generationally around what people are willing to do, what they want to do. We've even had people that's like, I can do it, but I don't like it. Well, okay, cool. And what's really cool about us, and this is part of my kind of maniacal view of our culture, is that either you're fired up for the work we're doing and you're on this mission with us to impact our industry, or you don't need to work here, and that's okay. Like, it's not bad. But we tell people we are big fans of the work that we're doing, and you either are fired up. Like, I have this thing about employee surveys. If you're neutral, you need to really think about why you're here, because I don't want neutral in my company. I want people that are fired up, that are on a mission to, impact healthcare in positive ways, impact patients in positive ways. So I tell people pretty flat out, we try to tell you who we are in the interview process, because I want you to know what you're walking into. But I really want people that are determined to have impact to our industry. And so we just don't allow anybody to hang out if they're not sure about that. We try to quickly figure that out, Andy.
So that your training process, man, I tell my own staff, like, we are a half staffing company and we are a half training and development organization, just because we hire so many, and some people make it, some people don't.
Sure.
What are your suggestions to other companies or companies that are struggling with training and development? Where are the successes that you've had, and maybe even failures that we failed at this is what we did, we came out on this? I would love to pick your brain around that.
Yeah, I think the failure is not doing training sooner than later. So when we first got started, we really didn't have formal training at all. It was just kind of like on the job, let's dive in, and we were hiring people with experience, but realizing that everybody was doing it kind of their way. And so really committing to bringing people in with dedicated hands-on training really is important. And so we finally got to that, but I think we lost some ground from a performance and overall how fast we can ramp people up in that gap. Now we actually have 3 full-time people in our learning department, and they spend their entire time doing nothing but cultivating best practices and doing 30, 60, 90-day checks on people, circling back to make sure they understand where their gaps are, where they're feeling like they're not connecting all the dots. And so that's really made a big impact for us, and be able to bring people through our process, help them understand to our brand promise. Like, what's unique for us is that we're trying to be the concierge locums company, this idea that we really can deliver on a different experience and really help that physician have a different career perspective, help that client have a different perspective on how to bring in these resources successfully. So we've got a big job to do. And so as a result, we have to have people show up and really demonstrate our brand at every touch point. And so I think focus from training early in and bringing in dedicated hands, it takes resources, but it pays off in spades once you see the impact of their work.
So let's get a little behind the scenes. Where is somewhere you have struggled or failed that affected you and your business? That, I mean, obviously I learned so much from when I don't do something right than hitting home runs.
So I would say the struggle was bringing in other industry veterans in the beginning. Like, we had some people that we brought in that should have been rock stars based on their prior performance, but I think their habits and their perspective were so hardwired by these other firms where they spent a lot of time. They were unwilling to really embrace our brand. And so I think sometimes you think just bringing in a heavy hitter from a competitor is just is a natural, like, hit it out the park. And it was miserable failure multiple times. And so we kind of took a step back to realize, okay, now we're looking for a quality and a skill set, not just a staffing experience or staffing acumen. Like, it can be helpful, but if you have someone that's unwilling to adopt your brand attributes, well, then you're not getting anywhere either way. So we really failed with thinking just automatic staffing experience was going to help amplify our success. We took a step back and said, okay, no, we need those qualities, that quality of resilience, that quality of adaptiveness, that quality of being, sales-minded and willing to put in the effort on the front end. So that's really helped us. And some of our top producers right now are people that did not come from the industry. One came out of baseball, literally a career in baseball. Started out playing in college, played professionally, then became a coach of 3 major colleges. And he's our top producer. 2 years in, $1 million desk, because he's just sales-minded, competitive, and wired to win. And so that I would have thought we would have had a prior staffing, superstar be that top biller, but our top billers are not.
Well, let's talk a little bit of let's say COVID comes in. How did you balance family and work during a time of crisis that is crazy? I mean, obviously managing a household, we were talking a little bit before, but walk me through your family connections with your work.
Well, Andy, I have 3 children, 1 grown and flown and 2 in middle school, which, by the way, middle school this go around has been really hard. I don't recommend it to anybody. Like, I hate middle school. It has been really challenging. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic. Obviously, the disruption to the school space is just really huge. But I think the hardest part about being a working parent in general is finding the time to prioritize both. And I think we've done a good job as a company. I came up in an era where your work always came first and family always kind of took a back seat, especially if you were going to be in a leadership role. And I think we've tried to really balance that. We want people to be able to take time off. We actually enforce people taking their PTO. We're like, you need to take, we don't roll over time because we want you to prioritize having a vacation and giving yourself a chance to recharge. So I think as a working parent, you have to just make space for doing the things that really enrich your family, like showing up at school or being able to take a day off and, just hang out with your kid or whatever it is that gives you that balance. And so I think it's hard to do. I think during the pandemic, I think we all experienced this, anxiety and this uncertainty that made us all on the edge. And I really saw that in our employee population. I saw that in my neighborhood at home, people just really being on the edge. And so I think we realized that we have got to figure out a way to get people back into patterns that feel more normal, feel more okay. We even hired a chaplain service, which is a kind of neat concept. It's non-denominational. It's not religious. It's all about helping people deal with parents, kids, stress, finances, all the things that we all manage and deal with. And it's amazing. We get a report back every quarter how many critical conversations they get looped into. I myself as a parent, I remember one night, it was 9 o'clock at night, and I texted Paula. I was like, do you have time tomorrow to talk? I'm really challenged with my middle schooler right now. She's like, I have time right now. She called me, and I spent an hour on the phone just crying my eyeballs out because I was just at my parents' end of my rope, and I just needed someone to understand.
I'm into my rope.
Well, but she showed up for me. She was just there to hear me out and just to comfort me. And to this day, it was just one of those moments where I was like, Paula, I appreciate the fact that you just allowed me to be vulnerable as a parent. So I think we need to find those safe spaces to do that, whether it be a chaplain at work or a friend or someone, because staffing is hard business. And then you add trying to be a parent and be a spouse and have time to prioritize all your relationships. I think that is important. And I think that's where we're going post-pandemic, is that people need to figure that out, because you can't just always be work only. You really have to really show up and try to be authentic with yourself and your family.
Prioritizing where work and life balance is, I'll be the first advocate to say time flies.
Yes.
But you don't get it back. I'm coming back from battling cancer, and my whole perspective of work and health and family is totally different than before the doctor said you got the big C word.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
And it's one of those things that don't wait for that. I mean, make sure that you take care of yourself, because we are in a stressful business.
Yeah.
But you would never miss a meeting if it was on your calendar. Don't miss a workout.
Right.
So these are things that I think we all tend to get in that work habit, and it is trust me, work is going to be there when you come back tomorrow. But when you're at home, be home. If you're working out, work out. But take care of yourself. But this has been a great conversation. I always end by asking, hey, if you're streaming Netflix, Hulu, what is the choice of shows that you watch?
Well, my husband and I, he controls the remote control at home. I give him domain over that because I really don't care. I like
what he watches.
Yeah. So it's fun. He'll be nice, and sometimes he'll watch something he knows that he really doesn't like, but he does it just to serve me, and vice versa. I like to read a lot. I love. There's a great book.
What book you reading?
Yeah, well, I've got lots. So Hard at Work has some great stories. Quint Studer is an incredible author. If you want to understand more about healthcare, he wrote this book. Well, he's got Hardwired Excellence. This is The Calling, which is another really great read. He just released a new one called Sundays with Quint. So Quint Studer is one of my absolute idols, mentors. So he's a man that started out as an operator in the hospital space, and he was responsible when HCAHPS first started happening, where you had surveys tied to patient outcomes. He really helped transform hospital culture, hundreds, thousands of hospitals across the country in the last 20 years. And so today his company is called HBSG, but I follow him a lot because he really talks about culture and gratitude being at the heart of the work. And you think about healthcare and the people that serve in healthcare, literally they're answering a calling every day to show up. Even when things are at their worst, they still answer that call no matter what. And so it's really this idea of gratitude at the heart of everything. I think we brought that into our culture too. Again, being able to do work that matters. Every morning, Andy, at like around 7:30, our Teams chat starts, and there's somebody, usually it's somebody in Florida, because they get up early, and it's like, hey, let's go slay this day. Let's go impact lives. Let's go, impact a doctor or a facility today. And it's this idea that we show up every day knowing that it's going to be hard, but with a desire and a willing heart to serve and to figure out how to find that win. And that's what I love about our industry. It's what I love about our organization, is that we have a culture of service and we prioritize that. And it makes me excited. Like, we don't have people that are like, oh, Sunday night, oh, I got to go to work tomorrow. Oh,
Yep.
We don't have that. We have, hey, let's go figure it out. Or, man, today was rough, but I'm gonna come back tomorrow. We're gonna try it again. And so it's this idea that we can renew each other is really what it's all about.
I love the energy you have, and I really appreciate you bringing that energy to Staffing Stories. And this is going to be a great broadcast. But again, Natasha, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know you're a busy lady, so again, I'm much grateful.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you for having me here, Andy.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for tuning into the episode. Staffing Stories is brought to you by 3D-IQ. We are the future of staffing sales. Our solutions are designed to supercharge your sales and 3x placements, all without ever leaving Bullhorn. Direct market, deliver talent, and drive sales with our all-in-one tool designed for the modern recruiter. Visit 3diq.com/stories to learn more. Find Staffing Stories on LinkedIn, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.